The summer of 1998 was a joyous time for Arsenal and Wenger. He had not only won his first trophies at the club in league and cup double but had done it in the most elegant of ways. Their free-flowing attacking movement had impressed everyone, even Alex Ferguson. For the first time, the squad felt threatened, and it was now Alex Ferguson who was plotting to regain his throne. And as English football was finally re-emerging at the dawn of 21st century, Manchester United's on and off-field success couldn't stay hidden from the world. Sky B, a satellite broadcasting service acquired by Rupert Murdoch of Sky, placed a bid for Manchester United for £623 million. Martin Edwards and the rest of the Man United board members stated that the deal would only benefit both parties, as Murdoch guarantees not to make any kind of massive overhaul. Despite the assurances, Man United fans did not want to see their club owned by a single entity. United had always been a working man's club, and they intended to keep it that way. BSB, a British satellite broadcast, country's only official satellite network, after seeing their poor sales in this satellite and lack of live games in the late 80s, they were forced into a merger with Sky, effectively named as Sky B. But soon enough their fortunes turned around thanks to football-driven subscriptions and advertising. Sky B was Britain's most profitable broadcaster. But the heavy investment in content wasn't a sustainable model. TV companies didn't just want to fund clubs, they wanted ownership. If you're running a TV channel, you want people to watch, and football is one of the biggest draws. And the best way to ensure you have football is to buy a football club. So in September 98, when United accepted the takeover bid from Sky, the reaction from supporters was vehement and vociferous to say the least. The success of United has been built by the likes of Matt Busby and Sir Alex Ferguson, raised chairman of IM USA Andy Walsh. One man does not have the right to sell that success in such a fashion. Rupert Murdoch will rape and pillage Manchester United. With all the publicity to this deal, Chelsea supporting sports minister at that time, Tony Banks, suggested that the deal would be investigated by the Office of Fair Trading. The OFT referred the case to Monopolies and Mergers Commission, and after months of inquiry and investigation, they came to this decision that it might not be good if the biggest broadcaster owned the biggest club. The deal was called off, and for the moment, the danger of the club being owned by a single entity was averted. Out on pitch, it was business as usual for United. Ferguson, charged by Arsene Wenger's humbling in the previous season which saw him go trophyless, he went out for blood. In a season which was exhilarating and excruciating in equal measures, saw United take on Figo's Barcelona, Ronaldo's Inter, and Zidane's Juventus, only to face Oliver Kahn's Bayern Munich in the finals. In a typical United fashion, they came back from behind in the final moments. Two quickfire goals from Solskjaer and Sheringham in stoppage time meant United were the first English team to win the Champions League since their European exile post-Heysel. Back home on the final day, they needed a win against Tottenham as Arsenal were breathing down their neck with just 1 point behind them. After all the league drama came FA Cup semi-finals versus Arsenal, Gunners' final chance to stop their rivals from gaining a place in the history book. And the game had everything. Keane's red card, Bergkamp's penalty miss, and a late Giggs' incredible solo goal that ensured United's chance to win the treble was still alive. United went on to defeat Newcastle in the finals, and with that, Manchester United won the treble. Everything United touched turned to gold. The following year, United valuation crossed £1 billion mark for the first time. Martin Edwards decided to step down as the CEO and installed Peter Kenyon in his place. United went on to shatter British transfer record 3 times in the space of 13 months by acquiring Ruud van Nistelrooy, Juan Sebastian Veron and Rio Ferdinand for a combined £77 million. When Edwards quit as United's board member in 2003, he left behind the groundwork for a 10-year agreement with Nike worth £303 million, and it seemed like nothing would go wrong from here. Arsene Wenger rapidly established himself as one of the best in the league. After dropping off in final few matches in his first year, he came out all guns blazing in the next season, helped by the fact that United had a season blighted by injuries. Arsenal made most of it and won a glorious double in 1998. David Dean's wildcard had worked, and now he was looking to build on it. Arsene Wenger was quickly becoming the centerpiece of this Arsenal system. From recruitment to food to nutrition, the professor controlled everything. The Frenchman was turning quite a few heads towards Highbury. They had just won the double and in some suave. It was an exciting time around Highbury, but it hadn't always been like that. Highbury was nicknamed the Library, partly because of its architecture and partly because it lacked atmosphere and the noise. Even the fans had chants like "Boring, boring Arsenal." And ever since Taylor report recommended installing seats in all major stadiums around England, Highbury, that could cram up to 73,000 people, was reduced to 38,000 only. For the inaugural Premier League season, Arsenal had to play behind a giant mural as the renovation for the North Bank end was ongoing. All throughout the 90s, Arsenal weren't a very cash-rich side, with constructions and renovations taking up a major share of their cash. They couldn't match or replicate commercial success of United. Although with Wenger, Arsenal were becoming England's contemporary brand of football, a kind of brand one would only expect the biggest sides would play. This meant that Arsenal had to be shrewd with the money. Summer of 1999 was a moment of reflection for North Londoners. They had failed to defend the league and FA Cup, and Ferguson topped it off with an elusive Champions League win. In that same summer, Real Madrid had come in to soup Nicolas Anelka for £23 million, with which they went on to buy Patrick Vieira, Robert Pires, and one of Arsene Wenger's former protege, Thierry Henry. The board also promised him a training centre with one of the most advanced sporting facilities in the country, underlining Arsenal's holistic philosophy under Wenger. After finishing second for 2 more years, Wenger had finally done it. They won the double again in 2002, and this time at Old Trafford. We have 84 points. We have played 19 games away in the league without losing one and have scored in every game. The character of this team is extraordinary, and to win it at Old Trafford added a bit of style. The 2003 season remains one of the most memorable in the history of English football. A Russian billionaire had bought Chelsea and spent 100 million in a single transfer window. After seeing the financial might of the oligarch, David Dean was annoyed. He wondered if Abramovich wanted to buy a club in London, it could very well have been Arsenal, although the club wasn't listed for sale, but the board would not have hesitated to sell it. Abramovich was very keen on Arsenal's main man Thierry Henry, who had been tearing defences in the league ever since he arrived. Dean rejected Chelsea's offer of around £49 million, which could have been 1/3 of the money he paid for Chelsea. He has parked his tanks on our lawn and is firing £50 notes at us, Dean said. Besides that, all eyes were fixed on Arsenal, as Wenger had claimed in the past. It's not impossible to go through the season unbeaten, and I can't see why it's shocking to say that. Off to a shaky start, Wenger's men took on Man United in a game dubbed as the Battle of Old Trafford. With 10 minutes remaining, Vieira was sent off, and shortly after, United were awarded a dubious penalty. Arsenal players were furious by the decision, and it almost sparked a brawl on the field. To Arsenal's relief, Nistelrooy smashed it onto the bar, and as soon as the final whistle blew, Keown landed a blow on striker's head. That was the only time in that season Arsenal lost their composure. For the rest of the season, they were brilliant. After losing out narrowly last year, Wenger had vowed to bring the trophy back to Highbury, and he delivered on it by going whole season unbeaten, a feat unrivaled by any team to this day. Arsenal will forever be known as the Invincibles. The growing success had been an indication for Arsenal to take the next step. Wenger's brand of football had been undoubtedly garnering attention and attracting crowds towards the Highbury, but it could not remain this way. The library did not have the appeal or the capacity for the increased influx of the supporters to the stadium. The board decided it was time to move away from their historic home and towards their new home ground. England's first ultra-modern stadium would be established on a garbage dump site. Manchester United had stepped into 2000s as the undisputed conqueror of the Premier League era. Although Arsenal were putting up a good fight, but the Red Devils were the flag bearers of English football. Martin Edwards even had the words "football club" removed from their crest. When you're the most famous sport franchise on the planet, you don't have to remind anyone which sport you play. The world already knows. Ferguson was now recognized as one of the best managers in the world. Knighted after his heroics in 1999, Sir Alex decided to retire in 2002 after failing to agree terms of a new contract. The following week after his supposed last game, club share prices began to drop, piling pressure on the board to secure Ferguson's future. As a result, Fergie was handed a deal that he demanded. It was a testament of the power and respect he wielded at the club, but this fame and power came with a price. Ferguson was a keen racing fan. He mixed up with the Coolmore Mafia, a group of wealthy Irish businessmen who shared his interest in horse racing. Following the Mergers Commission block on BSkyB's takeover of Man United in 1999, Coolmore started buying up shares. Even though they had no passion for the football club, they increased its holding to become the second largest investor by mid-2001. In August 2003, a legal wrangle loomed between Manchester United's manager and the club's second largest shareholders, all because of a horse. Rock of Gibraltar, a record-breaking 7-time winner stallion, rights to which were partly gifted to Alex Ferguson, allowing Ferguson to act as a sort of mascot. But Ferguson saw it differently. He claimed half ownership in the horse. He refused to back out and initiated legal actions against Coolmore, claiming damages of £110 million. In return, the Irish duo ramped up their United shareholding. By February 2004, they controlled roughly 30% of the club, making Coolmore by far the largest shareholders. They started to toy with Ferguson, issuing a list of 99 questions to which they demanded answers from the board, many of which targeted the payments it had made to the agents in the transfer deals, with direct involvement of Ferguson's son Jason in the United deals. Manchester United supporter groups jumped in to rescue Ferguson, one of the groups being MEC, or Manchester Education Committee. They planned to disrupt the race and voiced their disapproval of the increasing power of the Irish pair and their influence on the position of Ferguson. This was dubbed as Operation Moonbeam. MEC, after the protest, issued a statement that MEC has no interest in horse racing but feels that this course of action to be the most effective way of applying pressure on Coolmore to take heed of Manchester United fans' wishes when it comes to ownership and running of Manchester United FC. The Irish businessmen never would have thought, rather than them meddling in the football world was now meddling in theirs. One of the private investigators hired by Meunier to pull up dirt on Ferguson was met with United supporters with the banner, "Stop the horseplay, Coolmore." Once both the parties reached the settlement, Coolmores were already planning to sell off their United shares. These were trying times for United. They felt under siege from the Irish. In a desperate attempt to get rid of Coolmore, David Gill, the CEO of United, feared Fergie's former friend would demand a seat on the United board, which would further destabilize the club. However, he saw a way out of this. Him and the board made it clear that they saw Americans as their saviors. They advised the Glazers to buy off Coolmore's shares. Before this, Glazers hadn't thought of taking over the club, but now the things have changed. Malcolm Glazer, owner of the American football team Tampa Bay Buccaneers, had quietly built up his own holding to over 16%. He bought United's share in 2003, initially to make quick money off this successful spell. But now, he was going to effectively take over the club by performing a leveraged buyout, something which most of the United supporters didn't understand. However, they did understand one thing. The ethos of the institution as a working man's club is in danger now, and they cannot let this happen. When asked about his interest in Manchester United, this is what his sister has to say. He's centered on one thing. He's like a machine. Money, money, money. There's no other dimension. He's always striving for more, which I suppose is why he wants a soccer team. United fans' worst fears were realized. Glazer's plan was to cripple the club with huge interest on loans, with the club itself as the ultimate security against the loans in the event of any default on payments. There was a risk of Old Trafford being sold off to a hedge fund, a humiliating and needless prospect for a club that in 2004 boasted being the richest club in the world. Till now, the supporters fended off their club from the likes of Murdoch and Coolmores, and to them, Americans were no different. This club is not for sale, and it will be this way even if that means going to war.